Commander Jason Harrow had never expected his life to change with a single message. He was used to routine, reports, and endless bureaucratic memos, but today was different. His communicator beeped urgently, signaling an official transmission from the Interstellar Council. He swiped the screen and froze. The message was short but shocking. By treaty, you are assigned an alien secretary. Her arrival is immediate. Jason blinked, unsure if this was a joke. An alien secretary? Assigned to him by treaty? He had read about other humans being paired with alien aides, but it always seemed like fiction. Now it was real, and it was him. He tried to call the office to clarify, but the line was dead. Only a note remained. Expect her at 0900 hours. Compliance is mandatory. He looked at the clock, 8:57 a.m. Only 3 minutes. He rushed to his office, feeling a strange mix of curiosity and dread. Jason's office was on the top floor of the human embassy, overlooking the bustling city below. Humans, aliens, diplomats, and merchants moved in strange harmony. But today the world outside seemed slower, as if time itself held its breath. He entered his office and straightened the papers on his desk, trying to appear calm, but his mind raced. Who would she be? What species? Friendly or dangerous? At exactly 0900 hours, the door slid open, and she walked in. She was unlike anything Jason had imagined. Her skin shimmered faintly like liquid silver in sunlight. Her eyes were large, golden, and strangely intelligent. She moved with perfect grace, as if she had studied human posture, but somehow exceeded it. She smiled lightly, but it did not reach her eyes entirely. There was something unreadable about her, something that made Jason's stomach tighten. Commander Harrow? Her voice was musical, soft, yet carried authority. Jason swallowed. Yes, I am Jason Harrow, he said, his usual confidence failing him. She nodded, stepping further inside. I am Lyra, she said simply. You're assigned secretary by treaty. Jason glanced at the paperwork she carried, and then back at her, unsure where to begin. Lyra. This assignment? Why me? He asked, his voice shaking slightly. She tilted her head, her golden eyes studying him. The treaty does not require explanation. Only compliance, she said, calm and precise. Her tone was firm, yet there was a strange warmth, a subtle challenge. Jason felt the weight of every word. Compliance? A treaty? He had no choice, and yet something in her presence suggested she was more than a simple aide. He gestured toward his desk. You can sit there, he stammered. Lyra moved effortlessly to the chair. Her eyes never leaving his, she scanned the room quickly. Noting the devices, the papers, the secure communication panels, Jason noticed the speed. Almost mechanical, almost impossible. Then disaster struck. As Jason reached for his datapad to show her the schedule, his hand knocked over a cup of coffee. Dark liquid spilled across critical reports. Jason cursed under his breath. Great, just great. Before he could react further, Lyra's hand shot out, and with a flick of her wrist, the papers lifted from the table, suspended in mid-air for a moment. Then they gently floated back into neat piles. Dry and untouched, Jason stared, mouth open, unable to comprehend. You have unusual abilities, he whispered, more awe than accusation. Lyra's lips curved into a faint smile. I am trained to assist efficiently, she said, voice calm. Accidents are inconvenient. Jason tried to regain his composure, rubbing his temples. Right. Well, we have a very important meeting in 20 minutes with the council, and I cannot have any mistakes, he said. Trying to sound authoritative, Lyra nodded. I will ensure the meeting proceeds without disruption, she said simply. As if predicting chaos was routine, Jason felt a chill run down his spine. He realized that this was no ordinary assignment, and she was no ordinary secretary. Time moved quickly, each tick of the clock making his nerves tighter. He rehearsed his points for the meeting, trying to maintain control, but every glance at Lyra made him feel exposed. He could sense her analyzing him, measuring him, knowing things she should not. Finally, the moment arrived. A messenger entered with a security alert. Commander, you must proceed immediately. The council awaits. Jason took a deep breath, glanced at Lyra, who nodded slightly, almost imperceptibly, and then they stepped into the transport elevator. The doors closed, and Jason realized that his life had changed forever. He was no longer just a human officer, but a central player in a story much larger than himself, and Lyra, the alien secretary, had entered at the worst possible moment, yet somehow She might also be the key to surviving what was coming. After the tense meeting with the council, Commander Jason Harrow returned to his office, feeling both exhausted and uneasy. The elevator doors slid open, and Lyra, his alien secretary, walked beside him with silent grace. Her presence seemed to fill the room even before she stepped inside. Jason tried to focus on his reports, but his eyes kept flicking to Lyra. She moved around the office with unusual precision, rearranging small items, adjusting displays, and even predicting which files he would need before he asked, "Lyra, how did you know I would need these reports?" he asked, more curious than annoyed. She tilted her head slightly. Golden eyes gleaming, observation. "Commander, anticipation, efficiency," she said, her voice calm but almost too perfect. Jason frowned. "That's impossible for a human," he murmured. But she gave no answer, only a faint smile. Over the next few hours, Jason began to notice more strange things. Lyra seemed to understand multiple languages at once, reading messages from alien delegates without hesitation. Then, almost as if testing him, she anticipated his every question before he asked it, handing him reports, correcting errors, and sometimes speaking facts he did not even know. Jason rubbed his eyes, trying to focus, but a part of him was both amazed and terrified. He had expected a secretary to organize his schedule, not to predict future events and understand alien codes without training. Something about her intelligence felt almost alien in a deeper way beyond biology. That evening, as he prepared to leave, Jason noticed that some devices in the office began to flicker, lights dimming and humming with a strange energy. He looked at Lyra. "Are you doing this?" he asked cautiously. She shook her head. "No, Commander. But I detect irregularities in the building's systems. Someone may have tampered with them," she said. Her tone calm yet serious. Jason felt a chill, realizing that the office itself was no longer safe. He glanced at the monitors, seeing encrypted signals streaming in, unfamiliar symbols moving too fast for him to read. "Can you stop it?" Jason asked nervously. Lyra placed her hand near the main console, and with a soft hum the energy stabilized. Screens returned to normal, and the office felt ordinary again. Jason stared, unable to speak. "How did you—" he began. But Lyra simply looked at him with quiet confidence. "Some abilities are not learned. They are inherent," she said. And then she moved to the window, scanning the city outside, her posture alert and tense. Jason's curiosity battled with unease. "Lyra, why are you assigned to me? I mean, the treaty didn't explain why me. Why now?" Lyra's golden eyes met his, and for a brief moment, Jason felt like she could see inside his thoughts. "The treaty is not about your convenience. Commander, it is about your potential, your decisions, and the position you hold in human leadership," she said softly. Yet each word carried weight. "I am here to assist, guide, and protect." Though some actions may seem strange, Jason swallowed hard, realizing that he had no idea what this meant, or what future challenges lay ahead. As he tried to process this, a small alarm sounded on the desk, indicating a message from an alien envoy. Jason opened it and saw a warning. "Be cautious. Not all allies are visible. Watch your surroundings." Lyra leaned over, scanning the message. "This is accurate. There are forces observing you, some that may act without warning," she said. Her tone calm, but Jason felt a surge of fear. His everyday life, his office, his work were no longer ordinary, and the secretary assigned to him was more than she appeared. Over the next few days, Jason watched Lyra carefully, noticing her strange habits, the way she moved through walls of data, accessing information he could not even see, her ability to predict outcomes, anticipate risks, and communicate with multiple alien systems simultaneously. It was unsettling yet oddly reassuring. One night, while reviewing security logs, Jason saw something shocking. His office had been accessed remotely by unknown forces, yet no data was stolen and no alert was triggered. He looked at Lyra. "You protected it, didn't you?" She smiled faintly. "Commander, efficiency requires prevention, not reaction," she said. And Jason realized that her presence was far more than administrative. It was protective, strategic, and even essential. As he tried to rest, Jason could not shake the feeling that Lyra was always a step ahead. Not just of him, but of everyone, even the hidden enemies. He wondered if he could ever fully understand her, or if he was simply a piece in a much larger game he did not yet see. The city outside seemed calm, but Jason knew better now. Danger was never far. Hidden eyes watched, and every choice he made could have consequences beyond comprehension. And Lyra, the alien secretary assigned by treaty, moved quietly at his side, ready to act, to protect, and perhaps to teach him what it meant to survive in a universe where humans were no longer the most powerful beings. Jason realized one thing clearly. He could not afford to ignore her abilities, nor could he treat her as a mere assistant. She was part of his life now, intertwined with his fate, and every action, every decision, would be shaped by her presence. The line between ally and mystery had blurred, and he had no choice but to follow. The following morning, Commander Jason Harrow entered his office with a sense of unease. Something about the city outside felt heavier, as if the air itself carried a warning. He glanced at Lyra, his alien secretary, who was already standing by the console, her golden eyes scanning the incoming transmissions. Jason tried to focus on the reports, but one alert made him freeze. Unauthorized access detected in Project Helios files. The project was top secret, a human initiative to develop advanced interstellar technology. He knew immediately that this was serious, Lyra, he said, his voice tense. Someone is trying to steal critical data. She turned slowly, her expression calm but unreadable. I am aware, Commander. The threat is not human in origin, she said softly, yet each word carried urgency. Jason swallowed, his heart racing. What do we do? Lyra moved with purpose, her hands flying across the holographic controls, screens flickering to life with alien symbols. She analyzed the intrusion in seconds, tracing the source across multiple star systems. They are spies from a rival species, Commander. They seek to sabotage Project Helios, she said, her tone steady, almost unnervingly calm. Jason felt a cold sweat, realizing that he was now facing something far beyond his normal duties. Can we stop them? He asked, trying to sound confident, but his voice betrayed fear. Lyra's eyes glimmered. We can, but the risk is high. They are skilled, and they may already have agents inside the embassy, she warned. Jason clenched his fists. Then we need to act fast. The office lights dimmed as Lyra activated a protective shield around the data hub, small waves of energy rippling across the consoles. Jason watched in awe, unsure if he was witnessing technology or magic. As the alarms blared, Lyra spoke again. Commander, I need you to trust me completely. Follow my instructions without hesitation. Jason nodded, swallowing his pride. Understood. For the next tense hour, Lyra guided him through a series of actions he barely understood. Deploying countermeasures, encrypting data in layers humans had never seen, and predicting the spy's next move. Jason marveled at her abilities, but could not shake the fear that any mistake could destroy the project, and possibly his life. Then an alert flashed on the central screen, showing a figure attempting to bypass security physically. Jason's pulse quickened. They're here, he shouted. Lyra's golden eyes narrowed. Stay calm, Commander. I have this, she said, stepping forward, her hands glowing faintly with alien energy. The intruder tried to reach the main console, but before he could, Lyra's energy pulses created a force barrier. Stopping him in mid-step, he froze, unable to move, his body suspended in mid-air. Jason's mouth fell open. What are you doing? Lyra's voice was calm. Neutralizing the threat, Commander. No one will touch the files while I am here. The intruder struggled, then finally surrendered, and Lyra deactivated the barrier. The man collapsing to the floor in shock, Jason rushed forward. Who? What is he? Lyra examined him. A trained agent from the rival species, here to steal critical human technology, she said, her tone factual. But there was an edge of something more. A warning, perhaps. There may be others, she added, eyes scanning the office. We cannot be certain of the full network. Jason felt the weight of the situation, realizing the depth of the danger surrounding him. He had always thought of humans as pioneers in space, but now he saw how vulnerable they were. Even a single spy could unravel years of work. Over the next few hours, Lyra worked tirelessly, tracing communications, predicting enemy moves, and fortifying the security systems. Jason assisted where he could, but mostly he watched, learning, fearing, and slowly understanding that her presence was no longer optional. It was essential. At one point, Jason noticed a small device blinking under his desk. Unfamiliar and alien in design, he reached for it, but Lyra's hand shot out, stopping him. Do not touch that, Commander. It is a surveillance device. Removing it incorrectly could trigger a signal alerting others, she warned, and he nodded quickly, realizing how inexperienced he truly was in interstellar threats. As the night fell, the crisis was contained, the spy captured, and the Project Helios files secured, Jason sank into his chair. Exhausted but alive, he looked at Lyra, who was standing silently, scanning the office as if nothing had happened. You saved everything," he said quietly. Almost in disbelief, she turned to him, golden eyes calm and unwavering. "I only ensured survival, Commander. Your decisions still matter, but sometimes humans cannot face the threats alone," she said softly. Leaving him with an uneasy truth, Jason leaned back, realizing that the alien secretary assigned by treaty was far more than he had ever imagined. Her skills, knowledge, and abilities had prevented a disaster that could have ended his career, and possibly changed the future of human interstellar expansion, and deep inside, Jason understood that this was only the beginning. The first crisis had passed, but the universe was vast, and enemies were many. Lyra was at his side, a mystery, a protector, and a guide, and together, they were now part of a story far larger than themselves. The first real test was over, but Jason knew without a doubt the next challenge would come faster, be more dangerous, and demand everything he had and everything Lyra was capable of. The morning after the first crisis, Commander Jason Harrow arrived at his office with a restless mind. The events of the previous night played over and over in his thoughts. The captured spy had revealed nothing, but the threat had been clear. Humans were vulnerable, and Project Helios was far more important than he had imagined. Lyra stood by the console, her golden eyes watching the data streams with quiet intensity. Jason could not help but stare. There was something about her, not just her skills, but the calm confidence she carried, as if nothing in the universe could surprise her. "Lyra," Jason began cautiously, "you said you were trained to protect me, to assist me, but who are you really?" he asked, curiosity mixed with unease. Lyra paused, considering her answer, then spoke slowly. "I was part of an elite alien unit. Commander, trained in diplomacy, intelligence, and interstellar security," she said, her voice calm but carrying weight. Jason's eyes widened. "An elite unit? Then it'd use this treaty, this assignment. It wasn't random?" She shook her head slightly. "No. The treaty was designed to place me close to humans in positions of influence. You, Commander, hold a role that affects not only Earth but human colonies beyond this system," she explained, golden eyes meeting his, unwavering. Jason felt a shiver run down his spine. "So, the council, the assignment, my office, all of it was part of a plan," he said quietly, more to himself than to her. Lyra nodded. "Plans are always in motion. Commander, your decisions, your instincts, and your leadership will determine the success of what is coming." Jason leaned back, trying to absorb the revelation. The woman assigned as his secretary was not just a helper, she was a strategic agent, a guardian, and a key player in a web of interstellar politics. Then, she said something that made Jason's heart skip. "There is more you do not know, Commander. The threats you face are not only external, but internal as well. Some humans and some aliens may act against you without warning." Jason felt a knot tighten in his stomach. "Internal? You mean spies?"
"Sabotage?"
he asked, his voice tense. Lyra's lips curved slightly. "Yes, and more. The lines between ally and enemy are blurred. You must rely on judgment, instinct, and sometimes trust," she said softly, leaving him with a heavy weight of uncertainty. For the next few hours, Lyra guided Jason through security protocols and intelligence files he had never seen before, showing him hidden networks, secret communications, and alien protocols that made his head spin. He realized the magnitude of his position and the fragile nature of human authority in the galaxy. As they worked, Jason noticed small gestures, details he had missed before. The way Lyra's eyes would flick to unseen data points, the way her hands moved effortlessly across alien interfaces, and the faint hum of energy around her. It was as if she carried a hidden power, one that was always ready but never wasted. Finally, she paused and looked at him, golden eyes serious. "Commander, the previous spy was just the beginning. There are forces that would use chaos to control humans, and Project Helios is central to their plans," she said. Voice steady, Jason felt the weight of responsibility press down on him. His usual confidence faltered, but he also felt a strange determination. He had to learn, adapt, and survive, and he realized that Lyra was more than an ally. She was a guide through this unknown universe. Then she revealed something unexpected. "There is knowledge I possess, Commander, that could change the outcome of many events." But you must prove your judgment. Your choices will decide what is shared and when. Jason swallowed hard. So, you're testing me? He asked, unsure if it was a question or a statement. Lyra's gaze was steady. I am ensuring that those who hold power understand it fully, that decisions are deliberate, not accidental, she said softly, and Jason understood that trust was fragile, and intelligence without wisdom was dangerous. The rest of the day passed with tension. Jason reviewing strategies, learning from Lyra, and gradually understanding the scale of the threats around him. Alien espionage, human betrayal, and political intrigue were all intertwined, and his position was a fulcrum for the balance. As night approached, Jason leaned back in his chair, exhausted but aware. Lyra had revealed only part of her secrets, enough to understand the stakes, but not enough to know her full power. He realized that the alien secretary assigned by treaty was far more than a helper. She was a mentor, a protector, and a puzzle that he must solve to survive. Before leaving for the night, Jason looked at her. Lyra, thank you for everything, he said quietly. She nodded, golden eyes glowing faintly. This is only the beginning, Commander. The universe is watching. And so are those who would seek to control it, she said. And Jason felt both fear and determination. He knew one thing clearly. The first crisis had passed, but the secrets revealed today had opened a door to something far greater. The alien secretary, the treaty, and his own role were all parts of a game he was only beginning to understand. And in that moment, Jason realized that survival, strategy, and trust would define the future of humans in a universe where intelligence, power, and mystery were not limited to his own species. The day began like any other, but Commander Jason Harrow felt a strange tension in the air. Something was off. Even the city outside seemed quieter. As if it sensed the danger approaching, he glanced at Lyra, who was already monitoring the office systems. Her golden eyes glowing faintly. Commander, Lyra said calmly, there is movement in the outer sectors. It is not routine traffic, Jason frowned. Do you mean an attack? She nodded slightly. It is imminent. Prepare for a strike, she said, her voice steady but carrying a weight that made Jason's heart race. Moments later, alarms blared through the office, red lights flashing across the walls. Jason's communicator buzzed endlessly, sending urgent messages from the council. All units respond. Security breach detected across the city. Jason felt a rush of adrenaline, knowing that Project Helios was the target. His fingers trembled as he reached for the console. But Lyra stepped forward, hands moving in precise motions, activating energy barriers and shielding systems around critical devices. Within seconds, the office was protected. Consoles humming with power, Jason could only watch in awe. He had never seen technology work so seamlessly with alien energy. Outside, the city shook as explosions erupted in distant sectors. Aliens, rogue mercenaries, and unknown ships moved with calculated aggression, sending waves of panic through human and alien populations alike. Jason knew that the threat was bigger than anything he had faced. Lyra, what do we do? He shouted over the alarms. Stay inside the shield, Commander, and follow my instructions exactly, she said, voice calm as if nothing could disturb her focus. Jason nodded, feeling both fear and trust. Lyra moved with astonishing speed, coordinating security teams, sending encrypted messages, and deploying drones to intercept intruders. Jason tried to keep up, following her lead, but he felt like a student beside a master, learning a language he had never known. Then a sudden alert made Jason freeze. They've breached the outer perimeter. Before he could react further, Lyra raised her hands, and a wave of energy radiated outward, stopping the attackers in their tracks. Jason watched as ships slowed, weapons faltered, and intruders froze, suspended by the alien force. Commander, we need to move, Lyra said. Gesturing to a secure chamber, he followed, realizing that even with the shields, the danger was too close inside the chamber. Lyra activated a holographic map, showing multiple threats converging on the city and the embassy. Jason's eyes widened. They're everywhere. How do we stop all of them? Lyra's expression was calm, almost serene. We don't stop all of them, Commander. We manage, we protect, and we counter where it matters most, she explained. Her golden eyes glimmering with determination, Jason felt a strange mix of fear and awe. He had never imagined that one person or one alien secretary could control such chaos. Yet Lyra did, her movements precise, every decision deliberate. The attacks intensified, a wave of alien ships attempting to breach the city's defenses. Jason watched as Lyra manipulated energy fields, sending pulses that disabled the intruder's systems. Her hands moved like a conductor guiding an orchestra, each motion creating harmony from chaos. Then, a direct threat approached the embassy. A massive ship moving with lethal intent. Jason felt his heart sink. It's going to hit us. Lyra stepped forward, her hands glowing brighter, energy radiating outward, forming a shield that met the ship's impact head-on. The force rocked the building, but the shield held. Jason could see the strain on her. Yet she did not falter as the attackers retreated. The city began to settle, smoke rising in distant sectors, alarms slowly fading. Jason exhaled, exhausted but alive. He looked at Lyra, standing silently, her golden eyes calm, though the faint hum of energy surrounded her. You saved everything, he said quietly. His voice filled with disbelief. Lyra turned to him. I ensured survival, Commander, but the universe does not forgive mistakes easily. This was only a test of readiness, she said softly. And Jason realized that this was not just protection, it was preparation. He leaned back, trying to absorb the events. The alien secretary assigned by treaty had not only saved lives in critical projects, but had also shown him that the universe was far more dangerous and complex than he had ever known. Jason knew one thing clearly. From this day forward, he would never face the galaxy alone. Lyra was more than a secretary, more than a protector. She was a guide, a strategist, and perhaps the key to humanity's survival in a universe filled with unknown threats. And as night fell over the city, Jason understood that this battle was over. But the war, the real challenges, were only beginning. The morning after the attack, Commander Jason Harrow knew that the danger was far from over. The city outside was quiet again, but he understood that this calm was fragile, and the enemy could strike at any moment. He glanced at Lyra, his alien secretary, who stood by the console, her golden eyes scanning communications and energy readings with unwavering focus. Commander, Lyra said calmly, the previous attack was only a test. A larger force is organizing against us. They will try again. Stronger and smarter, Jason swallowed, feeling the weight of responsibility pressing on him. Then we need a plan, Lyra. Something to counter them before they reach us, he said, trying to sound confident. Lyra nodded. We need to form an alliance, Commander, not just among humans, but with other species that value stability. There are those who are willing to act. If we demonstrate leadership and strategy, she said, her tone calm yet commanding. Jason felt a mix of relief and anxiety. The idea of working with other species was daunting, but it was also their only chance to survive the coming threat. Over the next few hours, Lyra guided Jason through the process of contacting potential allies, explaining protocols, cultural differences, and strategic considerations. Each call, each message required careful wording, and Jason followed her instructions precisely, learning how to navigate alien diplomacy while balancing human interests. Suddenly, an alert flashed on the central screen, showing a coordinated strike in a nearby sector. Jason's heart raced. They're attacking again. Lyra moved immediately, her hands glowing faintly with alien energy as she activated protective shields and redirected defensive drones. Jason followed her instructions, sending out counter messages and coordinating human units. The chaos outside was overwhelming, ships firing, alarms blaring, and energy fields shimmering across the city. Amid the attack, a small group of humans and aliens approached the embassy under a white flag, signaling cooperation. Lyra's eyes narrowed, analyzing their intentions. Commander, we cannot trust appearances fully, but they are aligned with our interests, she said, voice calm, guiding him to meet them. Jason stepped outside to greet the group, weapons ready but not raised. The delegation introduced themselves quickly, each member representing a different species. They shared intelligence about the attackers, confirming that the threat was part of a larger interstellar conspiracy. Back inside, Jason and Lyra coordinated their combined forces, exchanging strategies, analyzing weaknesses, and preparing for confrontation. Lyra taught Jason to use alien technology alongside human systems, blending energy manipulation with tactical planning. Hours passed in tense preparation. Then the enemy attacked again. This time stronger, smarter, and more coordinated. Jason felt a surge of fear but also determination. The survival of the human colony and the success of Project Helios depended on their alliance. Lyra moved through the room, activating energy pulses, redirecting enemy fire, and guiding Jason to the most critical points of defense. He followed her instructions, feeling a growing sense of confidence as he applied her teachings. The battle escalated, ships crashing, drones exploding, and energy shields sparking. But the human-alien alliance held. Their coordination was precise, each movement calculated, and slowly, they began to push the attackers back. At one moment, a massive enemy ship broke through the perimeter, heading straight for the embassy. Jason froze. "We can't stop it in time." Lyra's hands glowed brightly, energy radiating outward in a protective dome that absorbed the impact. The force shook the building but held firm. Jason watched in awe, realizing how much power and skill she commanded. After the attack subsided, the alliance regrouped, assessing damages and planning next moves. Jason turned to Lyra, exhausted but grateful. You saved us again," he said quietly. Lyra's golden eyes met his, calm and unwavering. "We acted together, Commander. Your leadership and decisions mattered, but preparation, strategy, and trust allowed us to survive," she said, leaving him with a heavy yet empowering truth. Jason leaned back, realizing that he had grown stronger. Not just because of Lyra, but because of the alliance they had forged. The enemy had been confronted, but the confrontation had taught him the value of teamwork, trust, and strategy. He now understood that survival in the galaxy was not about strength alone, but intelligence, cooperation, and courage. Lyra's guidance had changed him, shaping him into a leader capable of facing threats that once seemed impossible. As night fell over the city, Jason looked at Lyra, golden eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. "We're ready for whatever comes next, aren't we?" he asked. Lyra's smile was faint, but reassuring. "We will face it together, Commander, and we will endure. The universe is vast, but human determination, when combined with the right allies, can achieve the impossible." Jason felt a strange sense of hope amidst the chaos, knowing that the challenges ahead would be greater, yet believing that with Lyra and the alliance they could meet them head-on. And so, the stage was set for the final confrontation. The decisions, strategies, and alliances forged today would determine the future of humanity and the delicate balance of interstellar power. The city lay quiet under the dim glow of dusk, but Commander Jason Harrow knew the calm was temporary. The previous attacks had revealed just how fragile human security could be, yet they had survived thanks to Lyra, his alien secretary, and the alliances they had forged. Jason stood by the large window in his office, gazing out at the horizon, thinking about the weeks that had passed. The universe had shown him its danger, complexity, and unpredictability, and he realized that the role he had once considered ordinary was now critical to humanity's survival. Lyra moved quietly to his side, her golden eyes scanning the communications feeds. "Commander, there is one final report from our allied forces. The enemy's remnants are regrouping, but they are weakened. They will not strike again in full force anytime soon," she said, her tone calm yet firm. Jason nodded, feeling a mixture of relief and anticipation. "So, we're safe. For now," he said quietly. "For now, yes," Lyra replied. "But safety is temporary, Commander. Preparedness and vigilance must remain constant." Her words were measured, yet there was an unspoken encouragement in them, teaching Jason the value of foresight and responsibility. He turned to her. "Lyra, I have learned so much from you, more than I thought possible. You have not only saved lives, but taught me how to think differently. Act decisively and trust others," he said, voice filled with genuine respect. Lyra's faint smile reflected her quiet satisfaction. "You have also grown, Commander. The human spirit is resilient, adaptable, and capable of far more than it often realizes. My role is to guide, but your choices have shaped every outcome," she said, leaving him with the understanding that their partnership was equal and vital. Jason spent the next hours reviewing the remaining intelligence, planning the reconstruction and strengthening human-alien cooperation. He realized that Project Helios was no longer just a technological initiative, but a symbol of human potential and interstellar collaboration. As he worked, a communication alert appeared from the Council, requesting a briefing on the outcomes of the crisis. Jason knew he had to speak not only as a commander, but as a representative of humanity's determination, courage, and adaptability. With Lyra at his side, he entered the council chamber where delegates from multiple species waited. Their faces reflected curiosity, respect, and cautious optimism. Jason took a deep breath, then began to explain the events, the strategies, and the teamwork that had saved the city. He spoke of human resilience, of the value of alliances, and of the guidance provided by Lyra. The council listened intently, impressed by the human leadership and the seamless integration of alien technology, diplomacy, and strategy. Jason could feel a sense of pride, not only in himself but in humanity, and in the bond he shared with Lyra. After the briefing, Jason and Lyra returned to the office, exhausted but satisfied. "We have done well, Commander," Lyra said. "But the universe is vast and challenges will continue. Our journey has only just begun." Jason nodded. "I understand now, Lyra, the threats, the attacks, the espionage. They were all tests in a way, not just of survival but of leadership, trust, and unity," he said, his voice steady. Lyra's golden eyes glimmered. "Exactly, Commander. Humanity must learn to work not just among themselves, but with others across the stars to survive and thrive. You are now a central figure in that process," she said softly, leaving him with the weight and responsibility of the future. Over the next weeks, Jason led reconstruction efforts, coordinated with alien allies, and strengthened the defenses of human colonies. With Lyra's guidance, he implemented systems that combined human ingenuity with alien technology, creating an unprecedented model of interstellar collaboration. He saw humans and aliens working together, learning from one another, sharing knowledge, and forming bonds that crossed species. Jason realized that the greatest victories were not just technological or strategic, but the trust and understanding built between beings from different worlds. One evening, as he looked at the stars from the embassy's observation deck, Jason reflected on how much had changed. The treaty that had seemed inconvenient, the alien secretary who had walked in at the worst moment, and the crises they had faced together, all had shaped a new path for humanity. Lyra stood silently beside him, her golden eyes reflecting the starlight. "The universe watches, Commander. But humanity is no longer unprepared. We have allies, strategy, and courage," she said softly. Jason smiled faintly, feeling a mixture of pride and anticipation. "And together we will face whatever comes next." "Lyra," he said, voice firm. She inclined her head slightly, acknowledging his words, and for the first time, Jason felt a sense of true partnership. A bond that went beyond duty or treaty. A connection forged in crisis, trust and shared purpose. The city below was calm, but the stars above hinted at infinite possibilities. Jason knew that the universe would always challenge humanity. But with allies, courage, and guidance from beings like Lyra, they could rise to meet every challenge, and as night fell, Jason Harrow understood that this was not an ending, but a new beginning. Humanity's potential in the galaxy had only just begun to unfold, and together with Lyra, they would shape a future filled with hope, adventure, and uncharted possibilities.